Welcome back to Q13 News this morning. So hate crimes on the rise in the U.S., kids apparently learning less and less in school about our nation's troubled racial past, and this all coming as we enter February, Black History Month. And we are really at this pivotal time in this important conversation in our country's history about race and justice. So joining me this morning, University of Washington professor Megan Ming Francis. She specializes in politics, race, and law. Professor Francis, thanks for being here. Am I wrong that we are kind of at a pivotal time for Black History Month to begin?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. One of the interesting things and kind of complicated aspects of where we are right now in this nation's history is that seemingly, right, we had the election of the first Black president of the United States, and people were like, the idea and notion of Black history, I think, was visible for people every day, right? Even maybe people who didn't want to read Black history books, right? That there was actually somebody there, and they were made aware of that. You also had the First Lady of the United States who openly discussed, right, that my ancestors, right, were enslaved, right? So that was always, I feel like, evident. And then now we have a new political climate where you had Charlottesville this summer, right? You have this fight over Confederate statues. And I think that we're at a really difficult spot, in part because I feel like there's more pressure on Black History Month to educate people, the public, colleagues, students, about really important aspects of our nation's political history.
Which is a lot to ask for just a month. I mean, like, that's kind of ridiculous, to be honest.
Right,
I mean, it really should be just Black History Year every year.
I mean, that's part of the thing, right? That, like, I think there's actually useful discussion about, should Black History Month be a month, right? Why is Black History Month the shortest month out of the year?
Right.
And then, like, but the aspect here is, like, we should always be talking about Black History Month, right? But the reality in terms of our history is that when we can, we erase Black history, we marginalize it, we don't discuss it because it's complicated and it's messy, and it doesn't always play to kind of the stories around triumph, kind of over kind of the demons of our racist past.
Because I mean, the white people get uncomfortable that we did these terrible, awful things. I mean, that's a hard thing.
No, this is true.
I mean, and having those conversations is terrible and awful and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean we shouldn't be having them. So do you think that the rise in hate crimes, the Charlottesville, all of that, is sparking more conversation, or do you think we're sliding backwards in conversation?
Oh, that's interesting. I hope, so my hope is that it's striking more conversation. One of the things that at least I've seen over the last year amongst many of my white friends is more of open talk about how complicated and how much work actually needs to be done around race in this country, right? Especially friends on the West Coast and the North. I did my undergrad, I was born and raised here in Seattle, I did my undergrad in Texas, and I had many friends in Texas. When they got to college, they had never really heard of the Civil War. They heard of the War of Northern Aggression.
Yes, we were talking about that, and I was like, what?
I was like, what are you talking about? I don't remember that war. But there was this story, right, that they had been told that, like, there was this aggression from the North to the South. So I do think that there is a lot of work that needs to be done, but I also think that this moment has opened up space for people to say, maybe we are not as far as I thought we were. Right, and let's figure out why we're not as far, why we have not progressed as far as we hoped.
I want to talk about classrooms because I was shocked to read Southern Poverty Law Center a week or so ago came out with this number that, like, only 8% of seniors in high school know that slavery is the reason that we fought the Civil War, and that makes me sick to my stomach to think about. I mean, and what you brought up there about the War of Northern Aggression, for example.
Right.
I mean, what is it getting worse in the classroom? Is our next generation even less prepared to have these conversations?
I'm not sure. I feel, part of me sometimes, I go back and forth. So sometimes I think that it was always this bad, but now there's more of a spotlight on how it's this bad. I mean, I think part of the issue, of course, is there's this fight over textbooks, right, in the classroom. And so how much should be taught, how much actually should be discussed around indigenous genocide, how much should be discussed around slavery, right? Should it be a day, should it be nothing? I think it's also complicated. We know, especially in public schools and also in private schools, most of the teachers are white. Right? And I think that these are really complicated topics for people to talk about, for people to teach about. But that doesn't mean that it's not important that students are educated to the proper history, right, in terms of this country. There's a way that at some level education mirrors what we do in popular culture. We paper over kind of the bad parts, right? And we, like, celebrate all of the good aspects. So we say that 64 happened, the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act happened in 65, and that we marched, Martin Luther King did this I have a I have a dream, and we got Barack.
Right. It's all solved.
Yeah, and it's there, right? And like, all you got to do is work hard, right? But that's not, the reality though, is a lot more messy.
Yes, it is. Which is why we need Black History, not just month, but in general.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody needs to understand. Everybody needs to spend some time and learn about it.